Soccer Today is powered by Spin Media. From podcast to video production, visit spinmediadigitalsolutions.com and bring your content to the next level.
Ya lo hace, pierna derecha, directo al arco, ¡golazo! ¡Golazo!
The world of football with a soccer perspective. This is Soccer Today with Duane Rollins and Kevin Laramie, live on the Sports Podcasting Network.
Good day, good night, and welcome to Soccer Today for Friday, July 15th, 2022. I'm Kevin Laramie. Duane Rollins will be joining me in a second as we invite you to join us in the journey to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Click that red button and that notification bell to be made aware whenever we upload a brand new episode of Soccer Today. And joining me as always with a little bit of a different look, Duane Rollins. Duane, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I thought I'd shake things up. I installed a giant window behind my normal studio, and it's all good. I have fun out here.
Renovations, a lot of renovations happened in Duane's place over the last couple of hours. Speaking of renovations, more renovations in the roster of Toronto FC. In the next few hours, it will be made official that Federico Bernardeschi will be joining Toronto FC on a free transfer from Juventus. Fabrizio Romano, the famous Italian. Is he a journalist or is he like an announcer? You tweet him at him and he's gonna announce rumors or whatever. But it will be made official. Apparently, it's been agreed and signed. Bernardeschi is apparently in Toronto right now as we speak. And Duane, we've talked about this ad nauseum over the last couple of weeks. It's not a new news, but let's go back and look at his contribution with Juventus now that it's back into the zeitgeist of Major League Soccer. 5 seasons with Juve, 183 games, 12 goals, 17 assists, but that's not really what's important. Pass accuracy, even there, it's not that great, but shot on target, 31%. He will be a very useful commodity on the right attacking midfield. That's where we're expecting to play Jesus in the middle, and we all know how Italians feel about Jesus, so that's going to be a great combination up top with Insigne. Duane, the Holy Roman Empire, Jesus and 2 Italians will be up top for TFC.
Yes, exactly. It'll be there for sure. Look, I said this at the time this was rumored, but heavily rumored, that this might be sneaky the best signing that they make, more than Insigne. I mean, Insigne is obviously a brilliant player that's probably played at a higher level, although Juve is pretty damn high. Also, TFC fans have some good memories of Juve bench warmers coming over to play for this team. So talking with Sebastian Giovinco, of course, and I think this guy's played a little bit higher level.
Exactly.
But,
well, that's the thing. If we compare apples to apples, even though there's a time difference, he's not as French of a Juve player as Giovinco was when Giovinco joined TFC. Giovinco could barely play for Juve. It was not the case for Federico Bernardeschi. He was playing whenever it wasn't Serie A, and he had a decent amount of playing time, not a full-out starter, but 6 games out of 10 he would find himself into the starting 11, and you have him now going to be, like you say, maybe the one piece that is not as flashy but brings a whole lot more steak than sizzle, and we all know that protein is what is necessary. So Bernardeschi is the protein, Insigne is the sizzle.
No, yeah, for sure. And, both of them will move the needle a little bit in the market. But I think more importantly, what they're going to do is take a little bit of pressure off of the back line and the midfield of TFC on the other side of the ball. You saw in the game against Chicago was really, really high up pressing them because they knew that if they could force a turnover that they could, torch that back line. And we should mention right now, Chris Mavinga, after the game, has made a tweet yesterday apologizing for his performance today, suggesting that he's had some personal issues that he hopes that one day he'll be able to tell that. So we wish him well.
And I don't know if it's related, but he also mentioned that he spent an off season at sick kids. A lot of times being at sick kids. So I don't know if you put 1 and 1 together and equals 2, or if those are not related, but that's been his social media activity over the last few hours.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we remember that they're humans too. But yeah, look, if you have 2 guys that are dynamic up top that can create more than a 0.3 XG, which is what TFC had against Chicago on Wednesday, then you can't press as high against them. Then you can't allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's the same kind of idea in a very TLDR basic way that Canada does. Canada realized that maybe they weren't as strong defensively as other nations. So what they did is they pushed forward and attacked with abandon, which made teams have to respect that and not really attack them in the same way and put maybe some vulnerability there. And then hopefully, obviously, they improve too a bit in the defensive side of things. Anyway, look, This is a good move for TFC. This is something they needed to do, combined with Mark Anthony Kaye, which hopefully he'll, settle in a little bit more than he did in the first game. It wasn't horrible, but
no, it wasn't horrible. And of course, he wasn't helped by playing out of position in a role that he hasn't played for the national team or for a team in a long time. I think with Louisville in USL, he played on the right side, but we're not talking about recently, at least not on a consistent basis. And we'll see if he stays there or if, here's my prediction, my bold prediction, Duane. Here it is. The father's going to bench the son. That's what's going to happen at the end of the day. Is Michael's going to be on the bench to start games?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a conversation that we've been having in Toronto. Well, people have been having in Toronto for about a year and a half now, and it's starting to get louder and louder and louder. Is what you do with Michael Bradley. He still, as I've said on the show before, he still does some good things out there. And people that just want to black and white this are, they're being normal. It's just society today. There is no black and white. It's just left or right or, bad or hot or cold or whatever. But Michael Bradley does some good things. I think he still has a role to play for TFC. But is he an every game 90-minute player anymore? I think that we're seeing the answer to that. And the answer to that is no. So maybe you start to move him into a more leadership role, into more of a big game player, maybe playing a little bit more protected. Maybe he even starts to move into a coaching role eventually by working with some of those young players. And I think that might be, I could imagine that Bob Bradley, one of his visions coming here, and this is speculation, but it might be to maybe pass that torch over to his son eventually and move up to be the GM.
I want to be the fly on the wall of if this happens this season and then Christmas comes and then how does that go at Christmas dinner table? When here's son, here's your gift. What is it, Dad? A bench? Thanks. That was a great gift, Dad. I'll remember 2022.
Yeah, look, everything we've heard about the dynamic of the room with the two of them in there is that they are, in some ways, they're very much a father-son relationship. In other ways, it's not what you expect about a father-son relationship to be. He does play him, but they butt heads a lot, that they be very dynamic in how they converse with each other.
What you see is what you get. So Bob Bradley and Michael, what you see is what you get.
Yes, exactly. And look, that's positive. And I think at times in Michael Bradley's early career, it helped him out a lot because, of course, this is not the first time he's been coached by his father. It's a unique situation at professional level. It doesn't happen a lot. There's not a lot of examples. And certainly this particular scenario where this is a son that, if Bob Bradley's not the coach, are we having these kind of conversations, or has it already happened? And that's the question. Look, the TLDR of what's wrong with TFC defensively this year is they're slow. They're slow AF, Kevin. They're really, really slow. They get burnt on the foot speed all the time. And one of the reasons they have that is their six is, how old is he? 34? Yeah. It's not ideal.
I purposely put the lineup of TFC on the screen because the number 4, which is Michael Bradley on the screen, is going to eventually be replaced by the number 8. And eventually Osorio is going to be moved back to that spot, and number 21 on the right side, and you'll have somebody else playing the left side. And that's what I think is going to eventually happen, or if not this year, maybe next year. That's maybe the future of this team. Mark Anthony Kaye might be playing there for now, and maybe the heir apparent of Michael Bradley.
Yeah, and look, as we've again said multiple times this year, see, this is all the thing with TFC. When they're good, we don't talk about them. There's nothing to say. It's when they're bad until we talk about them. It's all we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. It's because we're making all these moves. But these moves are being made for 23 and 24. This is a team being built for that. Michael Bradley's role now, you can debate it. He still has some role to play. Michael Bradley's role in 2024, jumping ahead 2 years, I don't know what that's going to possibly be. So you have to start planning for that 100%.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Speaking of, before we go deep into the prediction of the weekend, when of course Montreal is playing Toronto this weekend, the first Major League Soccer matchup between the two. They have played earlier this year against each other in a Canadian Championship matchup, but they haven't played against each other in MLS, and it's an important matchup in the Canadian Derby, Canadian Classique, two Solitudes, call it whatever you like. But it is an important time in MLS for both clubs as they are struggling for results in both the league and in the other competition they took part. Toronto still has the Canadian Championship, but Montreal needs a result. And it's tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. at South Saputo. Mauro Biello is going to be inducted into the Hall, or well, I guess here it's the Wall of Fame. And it is an important matchup for Montreal. Mihailovic might be available for Montreal. They're still fourth, but drama from last week. That's my matchup of the weekend. Even though it's not a rivalry week, Wayne, when I look at this board of games, there's a few real rivalries. I don't know where Heineken was last week, but they missed the boat because Montreal-Toronto is this week. Have Atlanta-Orlando, that's a rivalry. Also, Columbus-Cincinnati, that's another rivalry. Rivalry week is this weekend for me.
They used to sponsor multiple weeks. I'm wondering whether there was like a financial negotiation after the schedule was made, and then they went, "Oh, you're not going to brand the second week," and so forth. That's my guess, because you're right. This is a very Heineken rivalry week kind of looking affair here.
Outside, you get the second, well, I guess the third wheel of the Cascadia Derby of Portland, Vancouver, because to me that's the third matchup of importance. Seattle-Portland's number one, then Seattle-Vancouver in my mind is the second one, and Portland-Vancouver is like, well, I guess it's a derby.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's the big brother, the biggest brother, the oldest brother, and the slightly younger brother that does actually punch him in the jaw occasionally and knock him out, and then the really little brother that just look at me. Sorry, Vancouver, you know which one you are.
Yeah, you do know which one you are. Here are all the matchup this weekend in MLS Week 21. Philly, New England, a sneaky, low-key good match to start the weekend. Saturday, 7 p.m. And when we look at the standings in the Eastern Conference, Philadelphia is top of the East, followed by NYCFC, New York, Montreal, still fourth, but is a pivotal weekend. Montreal does have one game in hand, but there's a lot of teams in range. 29 points for Montreal. If they want to keep pace with the big boys, they gotta win this weekend against Toronto. If they want to make Toronto stay where they are and not make them leap equal to Miami, that's also a necessary evil for Montreal. A classic 6-point game at Stade Saputo. Montreal, the favorite, but barely, heading into this pivotal moment in Toronto FC's history, where the bloody big deal in Italian is what? The I don't know how you would say it, but the Italian, let's call it the Italian, I don't know, Italian something.
Yeah, Magnificenzo or whatever is it. Magnificent sure. Is what they keep writing. That's all the branding in Toronto is that. I guess that's his nickname.
The Magnificos. Before the Magnificos start playing, it's going to be an interesting aspect, but for now, Montreal might want to get a result against Toronto, because next time you play them, it might be a little harder.
It might be a little bit harder, I think. I mean, look, having watched that midweek game, I don't have a lot of faith in TFC's ability to do basically anything right now until probably 4 more weeks from now. And by that time, I think the season will be gone. What I will say is, the expectation is Insigne will probably debut on the Voyageurs Cup final day. So we're looking at, what's that? It's still a week or 2 weeks away. It was a week away, I guess. 26, right? So yeah, I think they need to get 3 points realistically in this game if they're going to have a chance to really stay in touch. If they lose touch by 2 games, like 3 games or something, then it's going to be tough to get back. Even in MLS, when you get on a roll, unless you get on a crazy roll, you're not going to drag yourself over 5 teams very easily. That's the problem. It's not that they're 5 points back. It's that they're 5 points back and behind so many teams that they also have to climb over, and those teams will get points themselves because they're playing each other. So it becomes a tough thing. It's an important game for Montreal, as you outlined. If Toronto realistically believes they have anything to win from this, I know they don't have all their guys yet. Well, that's their own fault. They chose to do it this way. And yes, I think they'll be better by September, but does that matter if they don't get results now? Probably not. So it was ugly on Wednesday, Kevin. It was really terrible, and they need to bounce back. And maybe professional pride will kick in, because that was the worst performance I've seen from them in years. Well, that's a lie. The worst performance they've seen from in years was the Bush's Cup final last year, which was atrocious. But this was similar to that, and yeah, they're going to need to bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, we'll continue to break down the schedule in Major League Soccer after the short break, after the words, of course, of Spin Media, who powers this show. If you're a content creator and you're looking for a hand and the way to move to the next level, so you're looking for the elevator of content creation, you can join us at Spin Media Digital Solutions. Together, we'll look at ways to bring your content to the next level, from graphics overlays to multiple different video production setup, of course, logos to branding to podcast consultancy, that and more at spinmediadigitalsolutions.com. We'll be right back after this short break.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Kevin Larmy with Duane Rollins as we thank our patrons. It was a great day for our patrons. A couple of new patrons have joined the show. Chuck and others, welcome to the club. You can listen to the latest episode of the Two Solitudes podcast at patreon.com/2solitudes. For $2 US, $3.50 a month, you get access to the podcast. But then there's a few amazing human beings that have joined the shout out tier, and you can see it in your screen. From Pierre, Patrick, Martin, Jordan, Ian, Gonzalo, Glad, Dennis, Daniel, Sean, and let's not forget Dan, or should I say Blue Collar, Let's Go Boys, Dan, who is listening as we speak. Welcome and thank you for your support over the years as we are looking now at the rest of the weekend in Major League Soccer, and we have a full slate of games, 14 games, Duane, and of course we talked about Montreal, Toronto, Philly, New England, an important game in the Eastern Conference, Minnesota, DC United. DC United is rumored to have Jesse Lingard in their crosshairs. They're looking for maybe the English international to jumpstart his career in MLS. 29 years old, he would be a great signing for DC United, and the Rolodex of Wayne Rooney might be already put to use in DC. But against Minnesota, it's still too early. You won't have any influence, and you got spanked 7-0 recently. Yes, favor the Loons in that one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, DC did have a bit of a bounce back with the 2-2 draw midweek. Look, we always talk about the promise of the Rolodex. Kids listening out there, Rolodex is what your phone contact list used to be. Back, not even when I guess when I was young.
It was like a piece of paper, bunches of piece of paper attached to a plastic that was round and you could roll it. Anyways, the expression stuck, okay? Yeah,
it was your phone contact list. And Wayne Rooney would have a phone contact list. So his phone contact list, that was always the promise when we talk about these signings. I don't know if any of them have really lasted long enough. And the big name, like the big sort of former player name, Patrick Vieira maybe, but Patrick Vieira even kind of left NYCFC before the true benefit of him might be there, and it's hard to separate what he was doing versus what City Football Group was doing in terms of the scouting network. So I don't know whether it's going to work or not. It's going to be interesting to watch out. It certainly is the argument for those guys. If they're surrounded by an assistant coach that can assist them, that's what they do, can help them out, help them get over the top. The Thierry Henry, Wilfred Nancy model that we saw in Montreal.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was
which is also, sorry to interject, it's also important because Wayne Rooney might get a call from Manchester United tomorrow. Not tomorrow, likely.
Well, no, but in a few months before Christmas, because I don't think ETH lasts till Christmas. You know, ETH is a type of cryptocurrency, is Ethereum, and right now I believe in crypto more than I believe in Eric Ten Hag. So that tells you a whole lot.
I used to work in the crypto adjacent.
Thank God you changed just in time. Just in time.
If you, I know it was trading at like 75,000 or something. Bitcoin was when I was there. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not that anymore. So there's a big difference, but it's true. All right, let's continue to look, of course. Minnesota, DC United, we've just talked about. Miami, Charlotte. That's important to me because with a win, Miami climbs back into the conversation. If we look at the standings in a second, you'll see what I mean. But with a loss, they continue to maybe even go lower in the standings. Because right now, Miami is 11th with 22 points. With a win, they're 25 points and they're in reach of a playoff spot. Charlotte is there with 26. It's Charlotte's chance to make Miami a distant memory. If Charlotte beats Miami, first of all, it's a southern part of the U.S. type of rivalry, and Charlotte is better than we think. It's starting to gel, and we'll see if they can get a victory here. Swiderski is on the back of the net. The rest of the team is slowly finding its way. Shinyashiki has been a good acquisition by Charlotte. And will Charlotte beat a Miami team that, yes, will have maybe Pozuelo available and is doing better than expected, and with Campana and Pozuelo maybe have some firepower up top? But you know what they say about flamingos and sleeping on one foot. I don't think you'll get Pozuelo and Campana to fire on all cylinders. That's my 1 foot or 2 feet, and you won't be able to see both contribute at the same time. But for Charlotte, this could be a good win on the road.
Well, it would be a big win, obviously. Look, Charlotte, I think they're at a very important part of their season in terms of what they're going to be. I think in many ways they can look at this season as being a success regardless of where they go from here. Obviously, the firing of the coach was a bit weird, and it sort of speaks to maybe an impatience there that might not bode well moving forward. But in terms of the results that you're seeing, it's very much in the model of Nashville and of Austin last year. I mean, Austin we didn't talk about last year, but they set themselves up to, they weren't bad, they weren't horrible, they were just kind of there. And then they've pushed forward this year. I think a lot of that was that early schedule and the confidence they got from that. But nonetheless, they've done that. So Charlotte's got to be looking at it in a similar way. They have a lot of money to spend. Whether or not they know how to spend it is my question. And you know, that's coach firing and sort of some of the moves they made in the offseason kind of suggest to me that maybe they don't. But we'll see. And it would be a big win. I think to make the playoffs would be a significant situation for them. I don't think they're going to be good enough to get a home playoff date, which would be very significant for them in terms of getting 60,000 people down in that stadium, but which they probably would. But it's they're having a decent year, and it's a year that I didn't foresee at the start of the year for sure. So congratulations to the players of Charlotte and to the organization for shutting us and many of us others like us up so far.
Can Chicago parlay the midweek win against TFC versus TFC's eternal playoff rival over the last few years, Seattle? Can Chicago beat the Sounders at home? Well, Chicago's at home. Can they beat Seattle? That's the question. Soldier Field, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Colorado at home versus the LA Galaxy. The Galaxy could find the path to victory. Colorado is not necessarily going to be in it for this year. They have a project that was delayed. They've parlayed last year's result. They sold a few assets. They were able to find a valuable trade for Marc-Anthony Kaye. You can expect Ralph Brizo to actually get some minutes this weekend with Colorado. Colorado, LA Galaxy tomorrow night. For Greg Vanney and Toronto FC South, this could be an important game.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for both. We're at the start of the season where you can say that for anyone, right? I mean, we are, as much as these are dog days, we are getting close where you can lose touch. It's like I've been watching the Tour de France, as I've mentioned many times, which is ironic because Kevin's not watching it. It's usually the opposite way. But when you're on the back of that peloton, Kevin, you don't want to lose touch, right? Like, you don't want to lose touch, and that's where we're at in the season right now, where you've got these teams that are really, they can see it, but they're spinning those wheels hard, and they're trying to catch up. So you can't really let those things go at this point. Speaking of the Tour de France, Canadian finished third today in the stage. Quebecer, too.
Yeah,
so
Hugo Hull finished third in the stage today.
Yeah,
the Tour de France on Friday.
There's Kevin Talk Cycling.
Yes, which is a show that lasted just a few episodes, and it's okay this way. All right, let's continue to look at this. Not the cycling. This is not the cycling schedule. It's just the soccer schedule. Dallas Austin, a Texas Derby in Dallas at Toyota. Well, to be precise, in Frisco. Austin looking for another big result against a Texas rival. Atlanta Orlando. Can Atlanta parlay their midweek result with a victory at home against Orlando? Orlando needs to find a way to stay in touch. If we go back to the Eastern standings, we're going to see Orlando is slowly dwindling down. Yes, they have 29 points, but 20 games played. Montreal has a game in hand, and then Cincinnati and Charlotte are not far behind. Atlanta can find themselves in the conversation with a victory. A lot of injuries in Atlanta. It is a makeshift roster, but after Josef Martinez's outburst last weekend, they turn around and won midweek. It could be a good win for Atlanta as we continue to preview Week 21 in Major League Soccer. New York, NYCFC, a Hudson River Derby. My question to you, Duane, is New York blue? Is New York red?
As I've said every time you ask that question, New York is green in this capacity. It is a very large city that barely knows that this rivalry exists. However, within a soccer context, it is quite literally purple. I think it is a pretty evenly divided city there in terms of who's going to win this game. I would suggest that it is. I might lean towards the Red Bulls because NYCFC, since the coaching change, has not fired on all cylinders. There's rumors that they're going to be making some moves out right now, which is their model. I think they'll bounce.
Yep,
They'll be fine in the long run.
Duane is alluding to Tati Castellanos being rumored out, of course. Will it be at the end of the season? Will it be now? That's the big question. Is Tati on his way out? Is Tati about to say ta-ta to New York City?
Yeah, and I think that it's increasingly becoming, increasingly suggested it would be, with Leeds being one of the destinations that's being mentioned, because it seems that Jesse Marsch wants to create an All-American / MLS team there, which is an interesting thought experiment.
And the Ted Lasso analogies continues.
Just lean in.
Sure.
If I could go out buying yellow Bristol board and a blue marker, write and believe and slap it on the wall. Just lean in.
Hey, might as well develop a southern accent. Jesse Marsch, sure. Start going out in Kentucky for a bit and come out with a southern accent.
Yeah, well, Ted Lasso's got a Midwest accent, but yeah,
whatever, sure,
more
whatever.
Iowa. I believe it was the University of Southern Iowa. I think was the team. Kevin hasn't watched the show, which you should, Kevin. But nonetheless, and maybe when season 3.
I'm gonna have a baby in November, so I'll have plenty of time to watch the show. So
you'll have time at night. Trust me. Anyhow, it's look. Where were we at? New York City, look, we're broken record time here. They're designed to absorb this, but they're not firing right now, and that's the bottom line. I had been saying they're the best team in the East all year. I am now starting to go more towards Philadelphia based on what I've seen over the last few games. Like, not just the blowout, obviously 7-0 is impressive, but I found their win over Miami, which was a road win, and it was kind of grinding, and it was hot, and it was midweek and short rest, and they just found a way to get through that game in a pretty controlled fashion that impressed me quite a bit midweek.
The Battle of Ohio is also a matchup that could have been a Heineken Rivalry Week matchup, but no, it's going to be Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Both teams are very close to each other in the standings. Cincinnati is 6th in the Eastern Conference with 27 points, and we have Columbus 8th with 26 points, 1 point difference between the two. Columbus does have a game in hand. I think Columbus are on the up and up. Salakayan's playing well. They had a 2-2 draw midweek. I think they will have the better of their rival, but Cincinnati with Lucho Acosta, Brendan Vasquez, and company are also a good team this year. This could be actually a good game. Usually the Battle of Ohio is the battle to stay awake. This week, it's a battle to watch this game.
The Hell is Real Derby. I've seen the Hell is Real sign many times, so there you go. It's real. The sign is real anyway. I don't know about hell. This is the first one that I think has any sort of zip to it, because Cincinnati's been so terrible that it's really not been much of a rivalry. I guess maybe you could go back to the pre-MLS days for Cincinnati, where they did upset the Crew in a U.S. Open Cup game. That was the last time it had any heat. But this is a significant one. Cincinnati, I think they're a little disappointed coming off that draw midweek against Vancouver, where they had the lead twice and couldn't hold on in either case. And Columbus obviously outside the playoff line right now needs to get rolling and needs to show that they have something there. Columbus is the team that's been spinning its wheels since they won MLS Cup, and that's not unusual, because generally you have veteran players when you win MLS Cup, but certainly have some further direction there to take advantage of some of that momentum they have from that championship, and the stadium opening is something they need to do.
Nashville LAFC, I'm interested in that one. Nashville is doing really well right now. LAFC also, two of the best teams in the Western Conference. Team number 2 and 3 right now in the standings are facing each other Sunday evening, 8:30. Let's plow through this. Salt Lake, Kansas City. Salt Lake, heavy favorite. Kansas City, you know what? I think it's time. I've said it a few times, but this one, if Salt Lake gets a decisive victory. Kansas City might see some movement come Monday morning. No, maybe not moving out. Maybe not Vermes out. But Vermes up. Vermes up a level. No more coach, just higher up. I think it's coming. San Jose, Houston, Sunday 9:30 p.m. And the weekend finishes with Portland, Vancouver, a Cascadia Derby to finish week 21 in Major League Soccer. As we progress a little north, we go across the 48th parallel and we go to the Canadian Premier League. A weekend of adventure awaits. Cavalry coming onto the plains, all their might midweek, looking at the Wanderers in the meadows of the Spruces at Atco Field. A marker was put down, Cavalry 3, HFX 0. They're calling for Stephen Hart's head in Halifax. The honeymoon is over. It took a while. The pressure of results. The kitchen asks for victories. HFX in the deep in the Canadian Premier League. And tonight, a Friday night special, York United live from York Lions Stadium against Pacific FC, the reigning defending champions of the North Star Shield, coming to the GTA, coming to Toronto to face on the crowns and show them who's the boss.
Couple thoughts on first. Calgary continues to roll pretty well, and obviously
11 game unbeaten streak with a point consecutively.
Yeah, and look, it's a good team. It's a very good team. That's all you can say there. Halifax made a really interesting signing this week. I'll be very curious to watch. It's the top scorer from the Welsh League. The Welsh League is not known as a big league by any means, but to bring in a top scorer, a guy that had a release clause and had been sniffed around by some of the League One, maybe even lower championship level teams, for a Canadian Premier League team to come in and spend that money suggests that the Warriors are interested in bringing someone into this league that they think that would have a sell-on value even further. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting signing. I don't have his name in front of me right now, but
me neither. So we're gonna say welcome to the Canadian Premier League, and we'll talk about him next week.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting thing to watch.
I'll even have his stats here. That's gonna be our mea culpa next week. We'll have his name and his statistics with the Welsh club.
Yeah, well, it just happened last night, so don't worry about it too much, Kevin. There, but it's look, the Pacific York game though. Pacific was gangbusters off the top of the season, and then they just went into a funk. They went 8 games without a win. They broke that last week, playing Edmonton. They had Edmonton and York back-to-back, and everyone said that, well, if you're going to turn your season around back to where it was, you need to get 6 points from that. This is the second half of that, because York is not going very well right now.
No. You know, in golf, there's a couple holes that put together. It's like a difficult part of your 18 hole. Like Amen Corner in Augusta, famously. This is the easy part, no offense to York or FC Edmonton, but together you have less wind than Pacific has.
This is your 270-yard
exactly.
par 4.
This is your easy par 4 where it's just a little chip and a putt if you can get it done, and we'll see if they can tonight. York United, Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and of course it continues Tuesday. It's a weekend of enjoyment of the summer for Canadian Premier League team. Next games after that is Tuesday, Forge versus FC Edmonton at 6:45 p.m. Note the starting time. It's a weird starting time in Hamilton, 6:45 p.m. for this one, and 9:30 for Cavalry versus York, as Cavalry will try to make it another game without being defeated, which will be 12. And right now it is, of course, a franchise record as we head into the second half of the season in the Canadian Premier League. We saw the standings, Cavalry dominating at this point.
And I'd just like to ask the lovely folks in Hamilton how they expect anyone to get there for 6:45, but that's a different topic altogether. I'm sure One Soccer had something to do with that schedule. That would require me to leave work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon if I were to get there, basically. So
sure, or you could, of course,
or like live in Hamilton, which I suppose they're catering to their local fans. But even a local fans, anyway, bad time. But hopefully, lots of people get there. It should be a nice night. Look, and here I've got a little prop here. I meant to show this prop earlier. I have a little bit of a souvenir for the podcast listeners. This is great podcasting, but here's the inaugural Forge banner from the first game. So there you go. I brought that. I wanted to show it, but it wasn't in the shot, so I thought I'd show it now.
Well, there you
I
go.
like Forge. I think they're a good team. So there you go. Hamilton bias here by the Central Canadian media.
Yep, of course, the center of the universe, Toronto FC. And on that note, we'll wish
You
everybody.
just made Hamilton Toronto. That's hilarious. Go on.
That's ball. It kind of is now. It's going to be soon enough. It's going to be part of the GTA. But on that note, you can follow Duane on social media at 24th Minute, myself at Kev Laramie, and this show at Soccer Today SPN. If you would like to bring your content creation to the next level, you can visit spinmediadigitalsolutions.com, podcast consultancy, video production. We can help you with your graphics overlays for your show. Even tutorials are available if you contact us. And if you like how we do things here, we can show you how to do so and more on our website. And of course, you can find this show everywhere you find your podcasts: Google Play Store podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and Spotify. No, not Shopify. Spotify. You can find the show. And of course, the Patreon page with the Patreon show called the Two Solitudes Podcast is available. And the latest episode, Duane and I talk about the Canadian men's national team controversy, which I guess it's Canada soccer controversy. We go in deep now into the entirety of the controversy, all angles from one side to the other, to even the history of the program. And we go into deep conversation about Canada soccer. On that note, for Duane Rollins, I'm Kev Laramie. Until next time, have a great soccer.
You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.